Hey guys, welcome back to LOI Fan TV, and we are back for our second edition of the League of Ireland Transfer Show. Now we did really well in the first round. I think we said 30 likes, and we'll keep them up. We got 67 likes, so we're doing
Not a bad
well,
return.
and not a bad return. We more than doubled our money, so no brilliance. No, Ross and I really enjoy making these videos, and like, look, it's going to be a weekly occurrence. So we're delighted to be back again. We're recording this on Saturday night, so it should be with you soon after. But yeah, look, as I said, we promised at the start of the video last week that we were going to you know leave a comment, let us know what you think, let us know any transfers, and we're going to go through that now. So I'll hand it over to Ross. Ross,
Yeah,
how are
it's,
you?
it's, it's the most interactive LOI transfer show out there. So make sure to get
Yeah,
involved in the comments, Uh,
yeah,
as Luke said, keep hitting that like button. I think we've set the target of 40 likes this week. So
yeah,
you can hit,
yeah.
hit,
40.
hit 40
Yeah.
likes. It's coming every week. Half six on the Sunday is what we're aiming for every week. So make sure to stay subscribed to have your notifications on, all that good stuff for all that. But yeah, as we said, I'm going to be reading out the comments from last week. So make sure to get amongst it in the conversation. First one here, I'm going to be getting Luke's thoughts on these as we go through. So from Sean Bowes, 2035, Sam Curtis, the Pats is floating around a bit. Thoughts on that one?
Well, see it 100%. He's not even on the bench. Sheffield United were doing really poor in the Lynn Championship, like before Chris
Yeah.
Waller came back for the 10th time. But like he's still not on the bench, and he's kind of like, what's he now, like 20, like like
He would
19,
be
20.
like that now,
He's
yeah.
still very young, but it makes sense, doesn't it? I could see him because he went to Peterborough on loan and he kind of flopped there. They were saying he's one like very poor. So yeah, it makes sense. Come back. Yeah, I could well see it. I could well see him come back to pass. What do you think?
Yeah, I'd nearly be thinking like, would Rovers take a look or something maybe? Like
100%,
like
100%.
he's going
Yeah.
back to Ireland, like would that
Mm,
be a more interesting proposition? I know obviously he has that connection to Pats already. Maybe there's an emotional
mm.
connection. He came up to the ranks there.
Well, he was in Rovers Academy initially.
Was he? Yeah. Oh, it
Yeah,
was about him and
he
his
left
brother,
for
wasn't
game
it?
time. He left
Him
for
and his
game
brother.
time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So it could be an interesting one there. I could see him at. I could see Rovers popping in. Like it feels like a Rovers kind of signing a little
It
bit. Like
did. And then Pats fans would hate him, like a Darragh
yeah,
Burns job, and then we'd end up hating him as well because he
yeah,
wouldn't come back then the year
yeah,
after.
yeah. Goes to empty arms or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
The
yeah.
next comment is from Shane Kerr, 556. He says, a Dundalk fan here, and he obviously was watching the video and he said he's chuffed with Talbot or Occurrence, the kind of goalkeepers we were suggesting. He says they need a goalie. And then he also says he likes the sounds of A. Dervin and Keith Buckley would be a great midfield with Harry Groom in front of them. So a lot of positives for Dundalk in a kind of a dark year for them. So yeah, if it does kind of League of Ireland experience heads going in, it would only be a good thing, really.
Yeah, they need the more experience, the better. Talbot or Kearns, to be honest, I can't really see the Kearns one just because he's under contract for
Yeah.
next year. And Dundalk, they can't be paying transfer fees. They're
No,
not
no,
even
no,
paying their
no.
own bills. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
But like Talbot and Buckley be two great additions, and yeah, 100%. I couldn't agree more. The very young team, and I saw they signed it. We'll get into it later in the video. They
Yeah.
have a few youngsters, but yeah, experience is paramount for Dundalk.
100%. On a similar note, PJ Venom, a regular commenter, subscriber as well. So appreciate you being in the comments, PJ. He said, he's a Bows fan, of course. He says, we'll really miss Bucko, Rob, as in Rob Cornwall, and Talbot at daily amounts. He says, think Todd and Hickey are solid signings so far. He says, nice video, lad. Safe to say the 20 plus likes goal was achieved swiftly. Yeah, so he seems happy enough with the business so far, but it is kind of that emotional attachment to a few of those lads that have left, though, isn't there? It's kind of they were kind of
Yeah.
stalwarts there for years, aren't they? Like,
It's they're not playing every week, but it's probably a big part of that dressing room, and especially with John Mountney as well. Like that's a lot of experience leaving,
yeah,
and it's gonna be interesting to see the next generation step up. Your Tierneys and your Devoys,
yeah,
they're gonna really need to be figureheads in that dressing room now. So it's gonna be interesting. But yeah, a huge amount of experience lost for Bowes, and it could go both ways. So it'll be
yeah,
interesting to see. Yeah,
100%, 100%.
yeah.
Sam Ferry 2281. He said David Hurley we contracted at Galway, thank God, which is yeah. Obviously, we'll probably get into more Galway of a few bits going on at the minute, but
Yeah.
yeah, I think he's one of their better players last season. It's huge to get him back on board.
Yeah, do you know that Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, gif of when he walks in, there's no furniture in the room. It's David Hurley walking into Galway. He's like, where's everyone gone?
Literally, like, oh, John Caulfield hitting in the corner there. IFB Media, fantastic page on Twitter in particular. So make sure to go
Yeah.
follow them guys. They're cracking stuff over there. But they say great watch, lads. Appreciate that. Thank you, man. Richie Sheridan, 7247. Poor Gammond will apparently end up at Shamrock Rovers. Shelbourne have cooled their interest. Thoughts on that one?
I don't think so. I saw, we'll go again to it later in the video as well, but Bradley had alluded to the fact that Rory Gaffney's new contract is basically signed, and
Mm.
he's going to be a mentor for Noonan, McGovern, and then young Ben Mahon as well. So I can't see him coming there as well, personally. But you never know. But I don't think so.
Yeah, I actually replied to his comment saying I'd be surprised at that unless Gaffney and or Aaron Green leave. And he
Mm,
said that Green could retire or move on,
yeah.
or Gaffney would might like to finish his career at Galway. I think Gaffney has another year in him though, doesn't he? At Rovers or
He
something.
does at that level, especially, yeah, and he has a setup there where he's down and he only trains twice a week, and he's living in Galway, so it's very suitable for him. And Green will retire. He's right there, but you still have four strikers, so I can't see another one coming in.
No, no, yeah, I don't think he could really justify going Gaffney and Green. You probably only need one of
Mm.
those kind of older, like especially if
Uh,
you're paying a fee for Hammond as well. Like
mm.
you have Gaffney there already. I think you're better off focusing on a younger striker alongside than Gaffney who has the experience.
I don't think Podge would suit us either. I think he's 30, so he'd be going on 38. Like Gaffney, the running he does, I don't think Podge could replicate that. And with the way we play, I don't think he'd suit. I think he'd suit us Shells, but I don't necessarily think he'd suit our Rovers. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Adam P or 8NK, I think that's prank. He says that Derry being linked to Joshua Daniels and Evan McLaughlin too. Now, I'm not wholly familiar with Joshua Daniels. I think he plays for
Mm.
TNS in Wales.
Yeah, he was with Shrewsbury in League
Yeah.
Two. He was previously with Derry before he got a move across. Actually, one I forgot to mention. So fair play for flagging that. And Evan McLaughlin was kind of a rumor being touted a few weeks back, but
Yeah.
then I've heard he's also been linked with some other clubs. So we'll see.
Yeah, he
We will
had
see.
Evan McLaughlin in particular had a kind of a good end to the season with Cork, didn't he? And in the cup run,
Yeah.
he kind of stood out in that semi final against Pats. He scored the goal and stuff. So I think he's
Mm.
destined for a Premier Division move anyway. And Derry, I think he's from Derry, isn't he? I think he played there before. I
Yeah.
think he's from Derry, so it kind of makes sense for him to probably want to go back.
It do 100%, and yeah, especially it's hard to kind of touch off these things because obviously there's news that's developed in the league, like Derry being linked to Jack Byrne and so on. So
Yeah,
obviously Marky's gone up there, but I think McLaughlin could fit in too.
yeah, he's kind of versatile. I think he can play like
Mm,
probably on the wing, centre mid, in the 10, probably do a job of fullback. And like he could do a number of roles for you as well. So I think it's good to be
yeah,
a signing. Final comment from Gary Delahunty, 3591. He says, Ronan Boyce to Bowes also, lads. And I think that one is one we probably could have mentioned as well, actually, last week.
yeah.
He's yeah, I think right back, obviously, with John Mountney leaving, and it was kind of a place. I think fullback in particular for Bowes is an area to be looking at because they were kind of putting square pegs in round holes last year, fullback in particular last season. So I think that one, I think at Derry, he's a really good player, a really good young player. But I think at Derry last year, he was kind of, I think he's been thrown into midfield at times and bits and pieces, and he just wasn't really getting a proper run of games. So I think if you got to move to Bowes, it could be a cracking move for all parties, really.
I don't know where I saw this. I saw him getting to a team of the year somewhere. Somewhere someone put him in. I don't know if it was the Instagram page for League of Ireland. It was like the most high, most often players included in the team of the week or something. But
Really?
yeah,
Wow.
yeah, I was surprised to see. I don't know who it was now. Now, don't quote me on that. But somewhere people
Along
were
the line,
raving about
yeah.
him. So I personally can't, like, yeah, no, I saw he was linked to both. But they're also being linked to Ben Doherty as well, that we touched off in the last video. But I don't know. I couldn't see Ronan Boyce leaving. I know it well could happen, but I think local lad and so on. I
Yeah.
think Tiernan Lynch is doing enough, movement up there. I couldn't see him going as well. But you never know. But I think it's unlikely.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
We'll jump into the video, but yeah, please keep leaving your comments below. We'll read them out on next week's show. We'll stick on the team of Bows there. We're kind of finish up on them, so we'll start with them alphabetical order wise. To be honest, I haven't heard a huge amount on Bows, bar Ronan Boyce, and maybe a couple of rumors that we kind of touched on last week. It hasn't been a huge amount of noise since then, as far as I'm aware. Anyway, have you heard much?
I haven't. I haven't. Obviously, they announced the signings of Todd and Hickey.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, obviously the void. We're still not really hearing much on the void. I saw people slagging that. I don't know who was it between the stripes that the
yeah,
reported the new contract.
yeah,
They're like, where is it? We'll
yeah,
see.
yeah,
We'll see. But apart from that, obviously a lot of releases happen for both. They released, half a dozen lads, and they've signed two lads. So yeah, look, movement up there. But I think like January, I think it'll be maybe for Bows, maybe a few English lads. But and actually, on another note, I saw some people linking Georgie Kelly back to a move to Bows.
Ooh, okay.
I saw he scored twice for Carlisle today,
Yeah.
and they won 2-1. They're second in the conference, and they're like, I think they're like a few points off Rochdale at top. But I personally couldn't see that one happen.
They
I just
brought
think
in
he's a
Dougie, like they have Dougie.
yeah.
Like I just don't know if they go for Georgie as well as Dougie.
I can't see Georgie coming in. It's one I could see maybe in a year or two's time if they get it. Just say Carlo get promoted, they sign a few lads maybe. But as far as right now, he's banging them in for them. So I don't think that's a goer.
Yeah, he's their conference, I think, aren't they? Uh,
Their conference, their conference, and he's on a long-term deal as well. I think he has like 2 years left to
yeah.
run or something. So
Like some of the
yeah.
money down there is actually like Carlisle in particular have a load of money to throw around. Like they
Mm.
have a few bobs, so there he's on. I say he's on decent quid. He's kind of one I could nearly see when Gaffney maybe leaves Rovers, someone going in there because he's been around the
Mm.
league. I think he's done Dundalk and Derry and other bits pieces
Pats,
as well, at the Pats
yeah,
as
yeah.
well. Yeah, so I could see him like I don't think Bowes will be the only one that will give him an option to come back. Like I think there'll be a few options potentially for him if he
I think he
decides.
will. He will. Yeah, he'll definitely have options. I think he's one to eventually come back, but I don't think just yet is the time for him.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
fair. So we'll move on from Bowes, onto Derry City. We touched on Josh Daniels and Evan McLaughlin there in the comments.
Mm.
We
Mm.
kind of touched on McLean. I actually had a look at McLean there the last couple of weeks. He's actually played the last few games for Wrexham since that video, which is funny enough. So
Yeah.
maybe yeah, you can maybe see them keeping him till even the summer, if he's getting in like at the minute.
I'm wondering if he would potentially come out of international retirement as well if Ireland got to that World Cup, and would he angle for that if he got into that Wrexham team?
Maybe,
Um,
yeah,
because I saw he put out he was kind of a bit like peed off that he didn't get asked. Or remember he put out that tweet and he was like, I am retired, but
I got
I
the
obviously
call.
would. Yeah, I didn't get a call, but yeah, it's a tough one. It is, especially when he's playing every week in the championship. It's a hard one to call, but we'll see. We'll see. You never know. Derry City and James. I saw Tiernan Lynch was talking during the week about it, and he was saying, "Oh, who wouldn't want James McLean?" So he's not putting cold water on it, is he?
No, he's not. He's definitely not.
Yeah.
So I think it's definitely one that will rumble on for another little while. Um, but yeah, Derry, I think Darren Markey obviously confirmed last week, other few bits and
No.
pieces as well. So yeah, they're getting busy. They're getting busy early doors, and I think they'll be kind of looking to reshape that squad a little bit. But I haven't heard much else in the way of rumors now.
I heard now. I don't know how true this is. I heard that Adam O'Reilly potentially could be departing Derry.
Wow.
Um, I don't know how true that is now, but obviously he's a Cork lad, isn't he? So he's not
He's under
necessarily.
contract as well, I think, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. I'm just wondering. He had a really good spell at Pats,
Yeah.
before, and I'm wondering could potentially. Well, we've talked about when we got on Pats, but I just heard he could be out on his way out of Derry. So he's not necessarily a local lad either. So could be one. Potentially we could see depart the
Yeah.
club, especially if they're signing some big money players.
Yeah. Yeah. And kind of obviously the lads coming in will be competing with him for a position. I rate him very highly. I think he's a really good player.
100%,
And I think
100%.
I think the position Pats are in now, they're unless they're throwing mad money, that's the way they have to go about it to attract players now, which isn't ideal because they've no Europe. It's not the most exciting project in the world, so it would take a lot to convince him. I think personally, anyway.
Yeah, it would, but he'd walk straight in
Oh,
to that
easily,
team.
yeah, 100%,
And I
100%.
think I think they'd pay him. They'd make him a good offer if they were interested in him. So that you can never rule that out.
Yeah, speaking of Pats and a former Pats player, Mark Doyle finished up with his stint in the US. I think he was at
Mm.
Knoxville in the
Yeah.
US States, and he was linked to go back to the League of Ireland. And it's probably one of the bigger moves since we filmed last week's show. I think I think saw a lot of Pats fans saying I would have taken him back 100%. He scored. I think he's kind of known for not being like the best player ever, but he scores goals from a wide position. Like he gets in the
Mm.
box. He's a real good kind of poacher, wide poacher kind of thing. And Drogheda have confirmed the signing of Mark Doyle. A massive, massive bit of business and a great move for them to kind of add on to what they've already got. And I think this is a fabulous signing.
I'm just as the weeks go on, I'm like Drogheda, like can only you think they have a ceiling in signing players. I was like, oh, they re-signed the back line, fair play to them, but it's
Yeah,
gonna be hard to get the next level of player. But he is a fantastic player. Like he's literally that Warren Davis established version of Warren Davis, a bit of that 5-3-2 with the kind of wide second striker, and that's just Mark Doyle. And he
yeah,
was unbelievable for them before. He was deadly for Pats. He works his backside off. He's such a Kev Doherty player. And
yeah.
yeah, that's him and Warren Davis competing for that second spot behind the striker is proper competition next season and a huge addition for Drogheda.
100%. I think he scored in that cup final before he left Pats, didn't he? I think he scored against Bows in
Yeah,
the cup final. I think that
yeah,
might
he
have been the
did.
year he left, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah, just a really, really solid, good League of Ireland player.
yeah,
So he'll complement whoever Drogheda. I think they'll be looking
yeah,
for a target man in the kind of in the window. We kind of touched on Boyd and your man from Walsall. I can't remember his name. Do you remember that fella's name you're talking about last
Who
week?
he? A
Yeah,
Hui.
who? Yeah, so linked
Yeah.
with a couple of strikers and stuff. But yeah, a great start to the window for Drogheda so far, getting those lads in and getting those re-signings as well.
I've heard an exclusive rumor
Oh, here
now.
we go. Here we go.
So I texted you about this. I was like, I've a bit of news for you now. Um, James Brown being linked with a return to Drogheda United. He's
Yes.
obviously he was at Drogheda in 2020, got in the PFA Team of the Year, I think
Yep.
that off season.
Yep.
And then he got his move across to Ross County. I think he was in
He's a
Black he was with
Blackburn.
he was with
Yeah, yeah,
Blackburn
yeah.
in the Championship. He went on loan to Doncaster, and then he was with Ross County, and now he's with Kilmarnock on a short term deal. But I think that expires in January. But yeah. I've heard solid reports that potentially could be a goer.
Yeah.
James Brown, he's a wing back, he's a really good right wing back, and him and Owen Lamb competing on that right side. It's just like it's another Mark Doyle type signing, it's left
Yeah.
field, but it's a really shrewd piece of business. So yeah, that's what I've heard.
Because Leisha, who he was on loan, I think, wasn't he? He's gone back to
Yeah,
Lincoln, I think. So,
yeah.
yeah, it makes sense. I think Owen Lamb had a great kind of first season in the league last season, a great option. But listen, I think you need to maybe have two good players for that wing back role. You're up and down the line. There's going to be a lot of kind of yeah, it's going to be a lot of kind of work rate put into that, and there's probably injury concerns and bits and pieces when you're playing that kind of high intensity position. So to have one, and you could probably stick one on the left side if needed or whatever as well. So yeah,
Mm.
I think James Brown would be a fantastic sign to get back to the league. And I'd actually heard him rumored with another side we might touch on later in the video. Um, but yeah, I think that'd be a fantastic pickup for Drogheda if they could get that over the line.
Yeah, and another rumor I heard now not as reliably told. I think this is more just Twitter talk, but Gary O'Neill potentially to Drogheda.
Like it, yeah.
Obviously they're looking for a sixth. Mark Coyle's been strongly linked, but I think if they don't get Mark Coyle, I think Gary O'Neill could be a shrewd option for them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is O'Neill's contract expired now at the end of the season?
I don't know, but even if he is under contract, I think I think his game time at Rovers has been near to zero. So yeah, it's I think he's probably exhausted all options at Rovers. I can't see him being there next season.
Yeah.
And I think he's had a tough year as well with injuries and so on. So yeah, I think a fresh start is needed. Obviously, Kerry being England, but Gary Neal going straight to Kerry. It's hard to see. You can nearly have it be in the Premier Division for next year or two or three, and then go to Kerry.
Easily. Yeah. Jesus. Yeah.
So I think I could really see him at Drogheda. I think he's a proper Drogheda player, and that'd be and one to keep an eye on for sure.
100%, 100%. We'll move on to their lead rivals, then Dundalk, and they've confirmed the signing of. Let me pull it up here now. It was Harvey Warren, 21-year-old centre back, arrives after an impressive 2025 campaign with Bray Wanderers. And you know what? I think this is a good route for Dundalk to go now. Kind of picking up young, good talents from the first division. I know they need to bring in a blend and they need to bring in some experience as well, and they need to bring in some quality. But I think having that eye on the future and maybe bringing in players that you can maybe sell on in two years time for a few bob. I think they're if that's the approach you're taking, I think that's the correct approach. Kind of bringing in players on small fees or small contracts and bits and pieces, and then looking to kind of flip them in a year or so's time. So I think that's a kind of positive sign for Dundalk fans, I would say.
For sure. I really kind of like what Dundalk are like. Obviously, they haven't done much yet, but given the circumstances, I think they're being productive in what they're doing. They made a few shrewd first division sides last season that got relegated and really served them well, like Groom and so on, and coming into the side and doing really well, like a Ruby and so on as well. But
Yeah,
yeah, they need to keep on refreshing that squad. Yeah, you get your Buckleys in, you get your potentially Talbots in, and Mark Connolly when we touched off last week. If those guys come in, they're real experience, real League of Ireland Premier Division pedigree, but you also need your youngsters to blend that team. And I think Dundalk have really struck that balance well. So yeah, no one. I don't necessarily think Dundalk, could automatically go down next season. I think I really rate Kieran Clough as a manager, and I think he's gone about his business really smartly.
100%. I was just having a look
Yeah.
'cause there's this Twitter page. I think it's John O'Connor. This Chippy, he's a Bose fan. I
Mm.
think he's well known on Twitter, and he keeps this like spreadsheet of players signed for next season. So make sure to go check it out. Drop him a follow as well. But I was just having a look at his list of Dundalk players, and according to this spreadsheet that he has, they've only got five players signed for next season at the minute.
Really?
They have Vinnie Leonard, Harvey Warren. So the two defenders, that's it. Two midfielders, A. Dervin and Leo Gaxa, and Daryl Horgan, and that's it. That's the only players they've signed for next season at the minute. So I don't know how
Yeah,
reliable that is, but obviously it's
yeah.
probably
It's
contract
it's a, to-
negotiations ongoing and bits and pieces.
I think a lot happens behind the scenes, and also like that list is constantly updated, and you know that's like loads of those contracts are in the public sphere. That's all the contracts. Like I've even seen it from I saw that with really good kind of spreadsheet from a Rovers perspective. But I know there's like more Rovers players that should be on the list that haven't been, that isn't in the public domain, but you know stuff you'd be in the know about. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't. Yeah, I don't necessarily think that Dundalk are sitting there up in Oriel Park with five players starting next season. I think things are going on, but you know they'll be announced in due course.
Yeah, I
So,
definitely.
yeah. As I said, I think they're reasonably active in the market. They're just maybe trying to, at the end of the day, it's only November. So these they have until what January to for the start of preseason. So I think they'll be okay.
100%. But the sooner you better for that bit of clarity, I
Mm,
suppose. And you want,
definitely,
yeah,
yeah.
especially for Dundalk to get a little bit of stability going into the season. Could
Well,
be,
their new pitches are coming. Is that part of the transfer show? They're signing a new surface.
It's still
Astro,
Astro. Yeah, it's still Astro.
Astro, 400 grand.
Yeah.
What a transfer fee.
Yeah. Oh, that's worth 6 points a season. That's worth 6 points a season.
That is worth 6 points a
-6
season.
for them, actually.
100%.
Only. Um,
Jesus, yeah.
just a bit of context on the Dundalk situation because I've put my hands up in the air and say I haven't been like following it really
Mm,
closely in terms of the whole like ownership situation. It's very, very messy. But I
mm,
saw a tweet saying that John Temple has issued a 7-day notice to Chris Clinton, claiming he hasn't been fully paid and still considers himself Dundalk's majority shareholder. And he's also challenged several statements from Clinton and threatened further legal action if the issue is not resolved. So there's just a lot of moving parts with Dundalk at the minute, and John Temple obviously must be selling his shares at the moment as far as I know. So it seems like a very very messy situation, which doesn't help the kind of
all for the
yeah
club.
exactly
Yeah. I saw actually Dundalk got granted their Premier Division license.
yeah.
I saw that. So despite all the carnage, the FAI have given them the thumbs up. You know, come on in.
Shocker,
Come
shocker.
on in.
Yeah,
You're getting a new pitch.
yeah.
That's grand. So
That's dead. Not about it. Not about it. Buy us a pint. Buy us a pint and not about it. Yeah,
yeah.
Jesus. Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, I feel like I couldn't run a piss up in a brewery. Organize a piss up in a brewery. So, but yeah, Dundalk. Listen, I think it was always. I think that you touched on Dan McDonnell saying that it was always the ideal situation for them. Like you don't want to be getting into a situation where you're not granting the first division champions a license for the Premier Division. So it's just a kind of a bad look for the league if that was to be the case.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Saw UCD are also granted a Premier Division license, so make it how way you will. But
Is I,
yeah,
I always wonder with those because I saw like Cork were as well, but is it like
yeah.
are they applying for like their women's team or something? Is that what it is or something? I
No,
don't
'cause I saw the women's teams underneath was underneath that in the statement, and they just
okay.
had all the Premier Division women's teams there. I don't know. Maybe if I think there's quotas to hit, and if you just automatically hit those quotas, you'll just be given the upper one just in case.
Yeah, yeah. So
But
UCD just threw their fucking name in the mix for whatever reason.
we've a pitch as
Yeah,
well, and
yeah,
ours is real.
yeah, yeah. We'll move on from the dock then to someone they potentially might look to be in the relegation mix with next season. You never know, but it's Galway United. But as we touched on before, we had a great commenter saying that David Hurley had re-signed. I think he re-signed along with a couple of others now at this stage. Ed McCarthy, I believe, is re-signed. Stephen
Yeah,
Walsh is re-signed. Jimmy Cowan has re-signed, and of course, John Caulfield has signed a 2-year deal, which I was kind of surprised by. But seems like it's been a positive week for Galway. Let's say.
better. It's a step in the right direction. Saw a fan actually say only 2 years. He's given us arguably the best memories of Galway United's modern era. He's two Premier Division campaigns and a First Division title. He's really stabilised the club. So yeah, yeah. A surprise one because we obviously talked about John Daly going in there, and I know he's at Waterford, but Caulfield kind of being linked to upstairs and him staying downstairs. So yeah, I suppose it's good to know who the manager is. It'll attract players. So yeah.
Yeah, and I'm say he's been given some assurances like, oh, we're going to re-sign these lads and bits and
Mm,
pieces, and we'll give you some budget and bits and pieces. So yeah, I think
yeah.
it's positive, and they have signed a player as well. They've signed
Mm,
Waziri Williams from Latvian
mm,
side Daugavpils, whoever that is, but he's former Dundalk and former Partick Thistle, so bringing in a defender is a good sign as well, and yeah.
mm.
Obviously, I think Rob Slevin's on the way out. Maybe Killian Browder as well. So important that they got a defender in the door.
Did I see that Killian Brother sign a new contract with Galway?
I haven't
I
seen that now, but
I don't know what I saw some development with Killian Browder. I don't. Cause we were talking about him being linked to Waterford,
yeah, yeah,
and then I saw some tweet about maybe it hasn't been announced yet, but it's close. So
that's that'd
that
be
was something I
huge.
said. I don't know if that's a rumor or news. I'm not quite sure. I can't recall. But um, yeah. Sorry, I've actually lost what you were saying. What were you saying?
Uh, I was just talking about Waziri Williams. Yeah,
Oh
good
yeah,
signing, good signing. It's well, I don't really
yeah.
know much about him to be honest,
I
but
don't think neither do I. He was
yeah,
obviously, it's always a good sign to bit, but have been in the league before.
yeah,
He clearly did something right. So yeah, I don't think that's the worst sign in the world.
no, definitely
Step in the
not.
right direction. So yeah, be interesting to see what develops over there.
We touched on the Greg Bolger rumor last week, I think, didn't we, with Galway?
Yeah,
Maybe see that just
yeah,
rearing his head again this week.
yeah. It's interesting. Yeah, it's just tough because he's a Cork lad, like, and he's 36, and yeah, you could well see him staying in Cork. But then again, if he wants to play Premier Division football, up to Galway he goes.
Yeah, another one I saw was Lee Devitt, the striker from Treaty, 14
Yeah,
goals in the first division last season. I think
yeah.
it wouldn't be a bad move either. I think just getting in someone who knows where the back of the net is. Obviously, it's a big
No,
step
that'd be
up, but
solid.
I think it's a solid piece of business.
Yeah, he's a Clare man as well, I think. So that's not the furthest away. I
No,
think it's like from Limerick to Clare, then to Clare to Galway. It's something very similar. So
yeah,
very possible, and probably a step in the right direction. So yeah, Galway just need to, like Dundalk, they both just need to kind of keep on motoring along and get their squads together.
get moving with
Yeah.
it. Yeah. Just referring back to that spreadsheet I was looking at before, Galway only have five, seven, nine players signed for next season, apparently, by the looks of it. So two defenders as well. So they definitely need to get kind of busy in the defensive area of the pitch. Obviously, we'll touch on one defender that's departed Galway later in the video as well, a deal done that we looked at last week. But we will move on to your boys, Shamrock Rovers, and maybe the kind of headline signing of the week was, of course, Enda Stevens returning to Shamrock Rovers. I'd love to get your kind of thoughts on that one. It's one we touched on last week, I think, as well, wasn't it? But
Mm.
yeah, get your thoughts on that one.
Yeah, a good signing. Probably a sign I would have liked maybe a year ago.
Yeah,
Just obviously he's there 35 going on 36. Look, his pedigree's unmatched. He'd be great for the young lads, no question about it. But I just question, him as a wing back, performing for us over the course of the season. I'm not too sure about that. However, I think potentially he could start next season as a wing back, maybe, for a series of games and kind of then pass the mantle over to Corey O'Sullivan, who started against Shakhtar. And I think Bradley alluded to it in his quotes when he signed, and that he was like, he's going to be great for Corey to show him how to play that position. And I think it's a really shrewd sign from that perspective. And obviously with Pico going to the World Cup next summer, he could obviously slot in centre half. So yeah, look, a good piece of business. It's kind of hard, yourself as a Shells Rovers, kind of up that end of the table when you're kind of looking around the league and you're going, you know. Yeah, like there's a few good young players, but most of them are under contract now, and it's kind of hard. But he's a good one, a bit of a no-brainer to be honest. 26 Ireland caps, Premier League experience, Championship experience. Last played for Stoke, and he was in their team when he was fit. I think he played over 20 games last season. So yeah, a good signing, and I'm happy enough.
yeah, no, I think it's a very solid piece of business. I think
Yeah.
I don't think Adam Matthews is signed for next season yet. Um,
I think that's one that will be done in due course.
so yeah,
Yeah, because him and Stevens are kind of they're flexible along the back line. They both play wing back and interior, but they're most predominantly centre off. So yeah, I think Matthews will be around next season too.
yeah, fair. But yeah, Rovers have kind of a large portion of their squad together for next season already, and one man that could be joining that is massive news. One we touched on a lot last week and put it up on our kind of TikToks and Instagrams, and it did great numbers on them as well. Was the Jack Byrne situation. Now, you said on last week's show that you think he will be a Shelbourne player next season. Do you still feel that way?
No, I don't.
No.
No, not at all. Me and Ross were texting. We were laughing at this. We're like, let's just swap positions now. You were
Yeah,
going. You were
he's a
you were
has-been.
going.
He's a
Ah,
has-been.
yeah. You Ross was texting me going, he's a bad egg. I didn't
He's a
want him. I didn't want him. And then I was like looking back at our video last week, and he's there going like Jack Byrne on like he's the best player in the league on his day, isn't he? Like, and I was there going,
It's
well, he doesn't
it's
work. We're
yeah.
beyond them.
It's
You
it's
know.
not it's not far fetched to say he'd be player of the year next season. Ah no, he's nothing. He's
Yes.
useless. He's
And
useless.
I went from going, we need more work rate in the team to going, get Jack back in, Danny done his ACL, it makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, Bradley apparently met him in Dubai, they had lunch, and gave him his league medal and so on. And Yeah, look, to be fair to Bradley, like when Jack had left Rovers, he had said, they were on talking terms, and it was very much Jack wanted to play every minute of every game, and Bradley couldn't offer him that. So it seemed like they were on some sort of terms. So obviously Bradley went over and sat down with him again. And to be honest, I think Danny Mandreo's ACL injury is a huge factor in this. Um, I think Danny kind of was playing that position a lot before the injury, and now he will be back the next summer. So, and Jack has a year left, and he's probably the highest paid player in the league. So it's hard to shift that. And apparently, Shells were the club that he was looking at, and I saw Derry were linked to him as well. But yeah, probably it just makes the most sense for all parties to reintegrate him and yeah, see out his contract with us.
Because I don't think he'll get a new deal at the end of the season unless he has an unbelievable campaign. He's
Mm,
not getting a new deal next season, and I can
no.
see it. I can see it ending a little bit like similar to how this season ended, like potentially in terms of if he's not fully happy at Rovers, maybe another loan to wherever towards the end of next
But the,
season.
the, the thing with
Bayern or
Jack
whatever.
is the toys out of the pram, like that can't happen again. He'd be gone for good again. Like there's no way. This is on his last chance. But if you actually look at the assist table when he went, like he was top of it. Like and he only played a handful of games. And I know
Yeah,
you were joking saying it was stat padding or whatever against the lesser teams in the league. But like there's no question what he does when he's on the pitch. So look, Danny Mandrea was injured. We don't know what's going to happen with Conan Noon. He's been linked with Pats and Sligo, and everyone's talked about him on Twitter. I don't know if he'll commit to Rovers. Is to be seen. But if Jack wants minutes next season, he'll get it. And there's no two ways about it. So it's about him now keeping fit and proving to the rest of us why he should warrant a new deal.
yeah, for sure. I think Jack Byrne, if he does end up staying at Rovers, yeah, as you touched on there, I think it's a no-brainer then that Conan Noonan will leave the club, and we might touch on potential suitors later in the video, but I think that's a no-brainer. I think he needs that. If Jack Byrne comes back into the fold, Conan Noonan needs to leave for his own sake. I think he needs to go.
I yeah, like I hear what you're saying. I don't put Jack and Conan in the same bracket. Like I put Jack in that three in the midfield. I put Conan kind of in that Grainberg position. Like Grainberg's gonna be 33 next season. Like you saw, I'm not blaming the second Shakhtar goal on him, but obviously, he turns in the wall and stuff like that. And like obviously he's very good on his day, and he's technically our most best attacking player. But he doesn't play every. He just we don't play him every week, and I think Conan can really come in there next season and make that position his own.
Mm.
So if I was Bradley, I'd be probably selling that to him. But then again, look, every other team in the league's going to say, look, we'll play, we won't even take you off, but we can't offer him that. So yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, yeah, I could really just see him at Pats. I could see Stephen Kenny kind of telling him, "Here, come here, you come to us. Brandon
Hmm.
Kavanagh's gone. Come to us. You're the main man in that number 10 position. You'll have the run of the show." I could just see that being a huge draw for him.
Maybe we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, I think he might be still under contract to Rovers. There's no clarification on that. But Bradley very much talked about him previously, like a few months prior, about him being coming back to the group. I think
Yeah,
that
I
was
think
like
I think
when
he's
we
under
played.
contract as far as I know. Yeah,
Yeah, so I think it will take a fee if they're going to get him out. But I think it's up to Conan
100%.
what he wants to do.
Yeah, we'll definitely require a fee. That's for sure. Um, We'll move on then to Shelbourne. And obviously we also touched on before. Obviously, Rovers have done a couple of deals, but it is kind of tough for Rovers and Shells to be looking into the future too much when you're still playing European football and bits and pieces as well. But
Mm,
I think as we touched on last week, Shells the squad is pretty much it's not far off being full.
mhm.
Even like the likes of Sean Moore, who we signed this season, hasn't really got a look in yet. So he's someone you'd like to kick on in pre-season and really get a look at him next year. Um, Midfield, you'd maybe look at Ellis Chapman leaving the club and maybe getting a replacement in for him. And we touched on Poragam last week. I think as the weeks go on, I'm kind of thinking, I don't know if I can see it as much as I could, but
Pour a gammon to shells, really.
Poragam with the Shells, yeah.
You can't see Pour a gammon
No,
going to shells.
I can't see it as the weeks are ticking
Really?
by. I can't really see it. Yeah, I don't know.
Why?
I'm just thinking I'm thinking from Michelle's standpoint. Like I think the fee could be an issue because I don't think Waterford will want to sell him for cheap, and I think you're spending a lot of money on a 37-year-old striker.
But
I just
surely, I just don't think it'd be anything over 30, 40 grand. Like, I just can't see a world in which Waterford say six figures in these years. Like, because his comments at the FAI Awards were really kind of like, sorry, the FAI Awards were really telling, I thought. Like, he was like, oh, wherever I'm going to play my football next season. Like, there was no kind of indication he's going to be at Waterford next year. And I think that if he's unhappy and that if he doesn't want to play for Waterford next year, I don't think they'll keep him.
yeah
And I think he'll resent Waterford if they don't let, as we talked on last week, if he doesn't get this final opportunity to play in Europe and try win a league, like yeah, he's been like nearly top scorer now 2 seasons in a row. It just, yeah, I think it's a
I don't know if he's the
no-brainer.
type
Even
to kick up a fuss, though. Do you know, I don't think he's the type to
no,
really make a massive.
but surely there's a gentleman's agreement there at Waterford. He's done so much for the club, you know. Like
Like,
surely if he wants to go, they let him go. But the fee has to be right. But surely it's not taking the piss territory with the fee.
yeah, yeah, that's where I just don't know if I can see it happening. I just struggle with it a little bit, but
Mm.
I'd love to see it
Yeah.
happen. But I just don't know if I could.
I know we talk about Shell's defense and conceding goals, but like even if you look at this European campaign, like I know you haven't scored a goal yet, and look, you're going up a level. It's it's hard, but I really think that he brings you up a level as a team, and you probably if he's in the team over for the course of 4 games, he's have scored a goal in my opinion at least.
I don't know if you
So
saw the John Martin stuff. It's like Podge probably scores that.
100%,
You know,
100% he scores
yeah,
that 100%, and he probably scores against Hacken too, and he's
yeah,
probably have 4 or 5 points on the board. So that's the difference. So I think for Joey O'Brien. I think he'd be saying to the club, look, I know it's 50 grand for whatever a 37-year-old, but he could win us the league. And
yeah.
then that could mean that we have a million euro worth of Champions League money and then the Conference League again. So I think it's worth the investment personally.
100%. And even being in the Conference League group stages next season or in the qualifying rounds, you'd like to have a kind of proven goal scorer up top. So yeah, it's definitely a position that Shels need to invest in.
Yeah.
And as we touched on before, kind of a defender as well. Tough to know who's kind of out there in the market at the minute. It could be someone from the UK or someone coming in, or do we see Lewis Temple getting a bigger role next year and the Sam Bone and Ledwidge and these characters? I just think they need to kind of upgrade that if they want to really seriously challenge Rovers. Like you look at Rovers' back three, it's Pico, it's Lee Grace, it's Dan Cleary, and it's Corey O'Sullivan and Stevens now. Shells are just levels below that. And if you want to challenge Rovers, I think you need to upgrade that part of the defence. Bar Paddy Barrett, the other two centre halves, I think need upgrading.
They definitely, but I don't know who's out there.
Yeah, that's the issue.
Um, you just don't know. It probably will be an unknown quantity. Like ideally, Shells don't want to sign someone to kind of be a bit part player. They need someone that's going to storm that back three and say, right, this is the crack.
Yeah.
And then Cameron Ledridge is like fighting for his position, or Sean
Yeah,
Gannon's
just
fighting for
Cameron Leverage as a backup is perfect. Like it's a good
mm,
option. Lewis Temple as a
mm,
backup is a good option. Maybe Sam Bone, you could look to move on Sam Bone or Lewis Temple, one of them maybe. I just think yeah, definitely need to. Sean Gannon as well, great to have around the place and can fill in at wing back and do a job at
mm.
centre half. Kind of like Adam Matthews, your Stevens at Rovers. He kind of a similar role for Sean Gannon. But yeah, definitely need to upgrade that. Obviously the goalkeeper situation is one that needs to be looked at as well. Whether it's
Mm.
Spiel coming back and I'd be definitely in favour of that. But it's just depends on if he fancies that himself. And Connor Kearns is still up in the air and bits and pieces. So it's yeah, a kind of a busy few months coming up for Shells. You'd think after the Conference League is done.
Definitely, definitely. And one thing, guys, in the comments, do some research. Let us know who you think. Is there anyone out of contract in the league that could go to Shells? Is there anyone in England with 6 months left? Do you think could go to Shells in January or in the summer? Let us know. Because
Yeah,
it's one that me and Ross both scratched our head with for a while, and it'd be interesting to hear what you guys are saying. It, but yeah, with the goalkeeper situation, if Spiel will sign, I think that's the no-brainer. But
yeah,
it's the question of if.
yeah,
I personally can't see Connor Kearns sitting on the bench next season. I can't see that.
yeah.
I think there'll be a bit of movement. I think that'll have a trickle down effect if that happens. I think two or three clubs will have new goalies. Yeah,
100%. Yeah, 100%. Like the likes of Connor, even to come back to the centre half area, Conor Masson, do you remember he was linked to a few
yeah. Thought about him.
someone like that age profile, that kind of in the UK, maybe there's definitely a few people knocking around. I'm sure they'll have their eye on.
He's starting for Gillingham nearly every week though. That's the problem, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, no, just that kind
Yeah.
of profile, I suppose. But yeah, I don't think that one won't happen for the next while anyway. Daniel Kelly was one he touched on as a potential
Mm.
departure for Shelbourne actually. And I said that 2 months ago I would have fully believed that, but now he's had a really kind of decent run in the team, and I expect him to stay. And he has signed a new contract with Shells for next season as well, which I think is a good. He's a versatile player. Can play in that front line. He can play as a wing back. He's done really kind of solid work for us. He was good against Alkmaar on Thursday night as well. European experience. He's won leagues. He's played in Europe. I think he's a good one to keep hold of for the year at least. Anyway.
He's at least a good squad player. Like
Yeah.
on his day, he gets into the team. He obviously has injury issues, but yeah, I know we'd said obviously the Shells don't play wingers, and that's not ideal. But then again, he's played left wing back for them, and he's done all right, and he's played in the tree as well. So yeah, I think that's a good piece of business from Shells.
Yeah. 100%. And one that final thing on shelves from me is Ryan O'Kane coming back to the club.
Mm.
Do you see him having a future with Chelsea next season? Is it one O'Brien wants to have a
Now that
look
this
at?
Jack Byrne tobacco isn't happening, potentially he could fill in, could he? With
Mm.
like obviously you've Wood, you've Coote, Ellis Chapman. We don't know what's going to happen with him. Do you think Ellis Chapman will be a Chelsea player next season?
Unless I think he might be under contract next season.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
So I suppose, but he's been in a really bad song. I think he's been a massive flop. Like
Well, was he in? Like, what's making him so bad?
he's just very slow. Like he looks
Mm,
really slow. Um, I think at Sligo, you kind of just saw the highlights and they were unbelievable. He's scoring these
mm,
crackers and halfway line strikes and everything. And I think I could see him maybe potentially going back there or somewhere else, maybe a loan deal, whatever it might be. But
yeah.
it just really hasn't worked for whatever reason. I don't think he kind of fits in either the 10 positions, and I don't think he fits in the other midfield. I don't know what he is. I think he needs to be in like a midfield three in a more kind of 4-3-3 formation or something. He just doesn't really fit the system at all, and it hasn't worked.
I could see your Galways and your Sligos and your Dundalks
He'll have
having,
suitors. He'll have suitors, definitely.
I could definitely see him ending up one there. But yeah, I think with Ron O'Kane, I think, yeah, if there's moving with him, and why not? Like he was so good for Sligo, why not?
Yeah, 100%, 100%. We'll move on then to St. Pat's. We touched on Sam Curtis before, and I had heard that they were looking at James Brown as well. You mentioned him for Drogheda. I suppose if the Sam Curtis deal wasn't to go through for whatever reason, if they're looking for a right back, I suppose if James Brown is coming back to the League of Ireland, it's one that they would have their eye on, you'd think.
Definitely, they were linked to him in the summer as well before he went to Kilmarnock. I think it was probably more of a fan rumor rather than a reported rumor. But yeah, would be solid, 100%. To be honest, I think Brown will go to Drogheda, and I think Curtis might go to Pats. If just predicting how things
Yeah.
might go, I could see both happening. James Brown well could go to Pats, but um, I don't know. There's just something about that for me that I'm not too sure about.
Yeah, yeah. Another one to Pats is Gembia Ruby from Dundalk that I've
Mm.
heard a rumor with, and he did a decent season in the first division last year. Don't know how many goals he scored, maybe 12, 13 goals. Obviously, he's still a young striker, came from Shells to Dundalk. St. Pat's been linked with him. Do you see that one? Obviously, Mealy is left. Uh, they have Aidan Keena still there. I don't think they have any other strikers.
Connor Carty's there, but
Or
he's been linked
Carty,
with
of course.
Megza.
Yeah, he's linked with an exit. Could you see that one as maybe a backup or something to Keena?
Yeah, I don't know. It seems a bit out there, doesn't it? Like
Bit of a
if
downgrade, isn't
you're
it?
if you're a Ruby, you're the main man in Dundalk. You do one season. If you even get to 10 goals, you probably get a move to the UK. So why would you risk being the main man? It'd be different if you're in the first division. It's a no-brainer. But like
Yeah,
he could just, he could go to Pats and play no games potentially. Like Aidan Keena, like I think we'd probably say on his day when he's fit and firing, he's probably the best striker in the league, up there with Paul Hammond, anyways. So if you're a younger Ruby, why would you take that chance? But then again, if Pats get him, that'd be a shrewd piece of business. But I'm not too sure about it.
yeah. No, neither am I. Neither am I. Yeah, I haven't heard a huge amount. I've seen a lot of kind of Pats fans frustrated online with kind of the lack of rumors and bits and pieces doing the work. So I don't know if you've heard anything else, but it's actually on look at their squad, and it is pretty packed for next season. Like there's a lot of players there, and
Like 20 players signed, like
yeah,
it's
they've
crazy.
six forwards, four midfielders, six
Yeah,
defenders, two goalkeepers. Like they've
yeah.
pretty much got a
That's
full
18. That's
squad
18
there.
lads. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So
yeah.
they're not far off being full. Whether they're going to try and move on a few players, Mulroney's and bits and pieces. Obviously, Carty's been linked with an exit, so yeah, it's a tricky one because they probably need to let players go before they can bring in the big hitters. Like
Yeah, well, did we talk about Pats on the left back last week? I don't know if we did. Like, because Anto Breslin's supposed to be on his way out there, and
he's under contract though, yeah, and Kazim's
oh,
under contract as well.
same, yeah. I don't know. I think fullback of Pats is somewhere where they don't need to improve. I
Yeah,
think Kenny teams are always really strong at fullback. I don't. I think they'll sign a left back now. Who that is, I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. Pats is a tough one because there's not many players in the league that aren't under contract. So I think the UK will be their avenue in January, won't it?
yeah,
So
yeah.
I think it's what you probably park Pats for a few weeks, and then I say stories will start developing the other side of Christmas.
It's always the kind of under 21 lads or young Irish lads that Kenny had previously in bits and pieces there as well. That
Yeah, yeah. Well, obviously, your man Val, the
Annie
Brentford B
Doku.
left back. I could see him going. I think if him and Curtis went to the Pats, probably gives him in fresh. If him, Curtis, and Conan Noonan went into the Pats, I think,
That'd be great signings. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of the profile you're looking at, young, ambitious players. And then to say an Adam O'Reilly came back in, all of a sudden you're looking at Patch saying, gee, they're rejuvenated as a team. Because
Yeah,
you've Joe Redmond there, you've Anang, you've Keena, you've Bramal Palmer coming back into the fray. Like they have a good team, so I
yeah,
think they need to almost, keep their cards close to their chest and sign accordingly.
yeah. I
Yeah.
think the missing piece, obviously, with Melia going. I'm not mad on Keane, to be honest. I'm not his biggest fan. I think he
Really?
starts. He
Yeah.
starts everywhere. Everywhere he goes, he starts like a house on fire. Like he did it at Sligo, he did it at
Mm.
Cheltenham, and did it at Pats, and then the lighter just goes out, and the match just flicks off, and yeah, he just falls off a cliff. And I thought you don't want to say professionalism issues, but I've heard a few stories, bits and pieces going around about like just not keep himself in the best shape and whatever it is, or just,
Mm.
really because he's has a lot of potential. He's a really high quality player. And obviously there was that whole debacle with Dan McDonald mid-season with the whole unsettled thing as well. So um
Yeah.
I just don't think you can bank on him next year. And I don't think you can bank on a Ruby either coming up from the first division. So I think a striker with Melia gone has to be
Like, gee,
NFL
but they're
safe.
they're like gold dust, like it's like
Yeah.
who the hell do you go for? Like, because if you're
Paul
young
Javan in
Irish,
for £1 million.
if you're young Irish and scoring goals, you're worth a couple, like you're worth a few pennies, aren't you?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
and why would you want to go to Pats if you were those three things? Because they're
There you
not even
go.
in Europe.
There you
So,
go. Yeah, 100%. 100% money, maybe. They have a lot of money to
mm,
throw around, so that's a big one.
mm.
We'll move on then to Sligo, who have really impressed me so far with their business. Obviously, we touched on their first three signings last week. I think it was Carl McHugh, Alex Nolan, and who was the other player they
Donna
signed?
Eswa.
Archie Meekinson. But then they've also
Oh,
added,
actually, yeah.
yeah, and then they've also added Janet Eswa, as you said, there from Galway, which is a fantastic signing. He was one of Galway's kind of standout players last year. I think he's probably one of the contenders for right back in the team of the season. Really, really good signing, experienced Cameroonian player. So yeah, quality signing.
Yeah, they're doing well. They're doing well. Like obviously, like we kind of talked about, like those the teams kind of from around our region, like Galway and so on. Like it's tough to kind of get lads around there. Like obviously, if you're in Dublin, you have an upper hand straight away, and obviously Drogheda kind of taps into that, and then Derry they just have money, don't they? So
Yeah,
they're always going to attract players. But when you're Sligo, you don't really have money, but you don't really have the location either, and what John Russell's doing there is unbelievable, and they're like what those four boys will all start for them next season. And if they get back like a Ryan O'Kane, like you could nearly go cheapest they could get Europe.
yeah, yeah.
So very impressive.
Really good signings, and they've got a lot of players going to re-sign for next season already. They still have Owen Elding there, for example. They could end up getting
Hmm.
seven figures for him, and then they're in a whole new bracket of players they could potentially bring in as well. So, yeah, really, really good signs for Galway next season. Really, really excited from David Kiki there, who's definitely
Mm.
a top player. King Kavanagh, Will Fitzgerald, they've a really exciting team, I think. And we kind of saw glimpses of it last season. There'll be another year developed this year. I think John Russell probably was told that if obviously there was links with Waterford and stuff, I'd say he was given some assurances over budgets and bits and pieces for him to kind of stay where he is. So yeah, Sligo looking really promising.
Yeah, have you heard any rumors from the Sligo end of the house?
No, one I wanted to pull up with you there was Edwin Agbaje, one that you linked to, I think it was to Rovers a couple of weeks ago, wasn't it? Obviously,
Yeah,
that's for
yeah.
coming in. Edwin Agbaje was kind of a breakout star towards the second half of last season with Sligo at right back. I don't know if he's under contract. I don't believe he is
No,
for next
short-term deal it
season.
was.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was a short-term
so
deal.
will he stay within the league? I guess there's probably a load of teams that would be looking at him.
He's an Eden Derry man. He was in Rovers Academy. He was over with Ipswich now. I think he was on loan at Sutton and he played there in like it was at the Conference or League too. I'm not too sure. But yeah, came in, was really impressive. Played right back, right wing back,
Only
young
21 as well,
agile.
I think.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So he probably angling for that Jim Crawford squad as well. I don't think he's been included yet. So yeah, I don't know what's going to happen to be honest with him. Rovers are kind of in. I was linking them with Rovers last week, but I'm looking at them again. Like they've Danny Grant and Matt Kovalevskis. Had a really good under 17 World Cup.
Yeah.
He's a real player. He's a real
You're right
talented
back, is
player.
he?
He's a right back. Yeah, right wing back. Yeah. Probably more of a winger, but can play that right wing back role and has done for Ireland and Rovers.
Yeah.
So there's probably one reservation I have about him going to Rovers. I'd obviously take him, but would Bradley be willing to bring him in and block the pathway of a Kovalevskis? Because Kovalevskis is a player, and he's
Yeah.
probably someone that will go on to the UK the same way Corey O'Sullivan is. So it's a
Yeah.
tough one. I think like Baj, he's coming. Maybe maybe Pats or. maybe someone like that because I could see him going to a Dublin club anyways, and if he doesn't stay in the league, if he doesn't stay in Dublin, I think maybe he'd go elsewhere. But I think the Sligo door is closed on him personally. What do you think? Obviously, with Essel coming in,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Russell hasn't talked about him either.
No, I think he's done a Sligo.
Yeah, yeah.
I think Pats could be one. Obviously, they're linked with a few right backs, so
Mm.
definitely one there. I wonder could he do a job in the back three, on the right of a back three, maybe for Shells or something.
I don't think size is he's like
Yeah,
5'8", 5'9".
small, isn't he? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I think it was more pace. So I don't know to
I
be
know
honest, but
Norris played there at times. As he's Mark Cole's played
mm,
there, not the biggest lads, but I think
mm.
yeah, he probably wanted a big fella in there at some stage. So probably not his natural position.
No, no, it's really interesting. There's no noise on him, so it's kind of one that we're kind of starting here. So yeah, as guys, you heard anything, let us know. But yeah, we'll see what happens.
We'll finish up with Waterford then. We've kind of touched on the Poor saga. Um, no new signings for them so far. They've got a decent amount of players signed up for next season.
Mm,
They have re signed Mohamed Oladiti uh, to a professional contract. He's from their youth team, so he's a under 19 Ireland international, kind of highly
mm.
tipped young player, midfielder. So great to see that. I think for Waterford now, I think that's a good route for them to go is to try and kind of get young players through the academy or get young players from across the league rather than getting these loans in from the UK constantly. I think that's been a thing that the owners have said they need to do more as well. So they've kind of recognised that. So I think that's a good sign that they're giving these opportunities to young lads, and he's a really highly tipped midfielder. So hopefully you'd see a lot of him next season.
Yeah, yeah. No, he probably won. We'll talk about lots next season. But obviously, last week we talked about kind of the retention squad coming out for Waterford, and McNamee and Amond and Lonergan and so on being listed. Obviously, you probably list there, but yeah,
Yeah,
like 7 or 8 lads listed for next season, which was good. But like you're losing players like James Olienka and so on, and probably you will probably lose Amond if we're being brutally honest. I'm a little bit worried about Waterford. Obviously, there was lots of movement last week, and Daly being announced and thing. But I thought they would have pushed on again. I think I was kind of maybe hoping that they would have announced at least a signing this
yeah,
week,
yeah.
but it's kind of gone quiet, and players are going left and going right, and that PFAI transfer list is kind of clearing. And they don't strike me as a club that's going to be paying transfer fees. So
No, no.
I'm a bit worried that Waterford are going to get to the stage where they'll probably only sign 1 or 2 players from the league, and they'll end up going from afar again, taking a load of the Fleetwood boys, one or half a dozen unknowns. And I just think that's a slippery slope. And I think Waterford are kind of falling into that again. Like, even though the owner released a statement saying, no, we've listened to the fans, we're going to bulk the horse now. But there's no real indication of that.
No, yeah, just revert back to form and end up with
Yeah,
like Fleetwood Loanies or whatever it is would just be
yeah,
such a shame. And I think that would be nearly like the nail in the coffin if Dundalk can get to a position where they're going to be competitive next season. Don't think Sligo will have anything to worry about relegation wise. Galway, always fancied John Caulfield to put up a good fight. You'd be really
yeah.
worried about Waterford potentially if they lose Almond and they don't address these issues. I think you would be worried for them.
Yeah, I know. Last week I was saying, like I think it'd be between Galway and Dundalk, but I can't rule Waterford out of it. They're just too
No,
much. They're too unpredictable, and as you said, Galway will always find a way. They'll sign a few first division lads. They'll sign 1 or 2 lads. One might work, but one will work, and Caulfield will find a way. Whereas with Waterford, the skin of their teeth they stayed up by,
yeah.
and if anything, I think they're going to regress. So Olienka and Amond and McMullen, their goalie leaving, and Andy Ball retiring, like yeah, it's not looking the best. I'd actually love to hear some Waterford fans talk about links because I've heard little to none.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. And John Daly, obviously, I think we touched on Killian Browder last week and stuff. So you'd imagine he's kind of ringing the phone book at the minute, trying to see who's around. Surprised he didn't keep hold of like even one of like Grant Thornton, Rajewski, or Leahy. Do you know, just kind of someone
Mm.
that's been around the
That's
league
just
for a while.
huge.
Do you
That's their
know?
back three,
Yeah,
that's their back three, their goalkeeper, their striker, and the Alienka in midfield, and Noonan. Like that's half their team gone
yeah.
on top of an already depleted team. Like it's just yeah, I'm worried about them.
It's strange. It is strange. But yeah, that's all I've heard on Waterford. Not a huge amount doing the rounds for them. So probably I
Yeah.
think I feel like this transfer show is gonna like kick into life from like next week onwards in terms of so much to cover. Been a kind of a one of the slower weeks this week, I feel.
Yeah, there's bits and bobs. Obviously, um, yeah, probably other stuff, the European action and so on, kind of taking center
Yeah.
stage and so on. So next week will
Bit of
probably,
a
I'd like to think, first week of December. Like I think the
yeah,
contracts run until the end of November for all the clubs.
yeah.
So lads are officially, I saw when he announced Alec Nolan Cork did, sorry, Sligo did, it was like on pre-contract. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
lads can start being announced as new players from the first on Monday. So, yeah, I think next week's show will be a little more, I say we'll be having a few new conversations. But yeah, and as I said, like you guys watching the video, you fuel these shows. Give us stuff to talk about.
Absolutely.
Weird and wonderful rumors will address them all. So comment, leave a comment on Spotify. As we said, 40 likes. Let's try to do it. We got 67 likes last week, huge for the channel. But yeah, we're not going to say 67 again because obviously it's the first edition,
Six,
and
seven.
we'd lost the talk. But 68, go on. No,
60.
but yeah, 40. Give us 40 likes. Subscribe us, FI and subscribe, please. Where are we at now, Ross? As far as 4,000 subscribers, are we getting there?
We're definitely less than 250 away from 4K.
Okay.
Last time I checked, so we're like 240 away, let's say. So
Okay.
really
So we're
closing in.
yeah, we're getting there. So let's get there, and we're working on one or two things in the pipeline as well before Christmas. Yeah, some surprises, one or two potential guest appearances. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, Ross, pleasure as always.
Nice one, Luke. Thanks a million, guys, for tuning in. See you next week.
Cheers.